in my career, right? Which right now my boss still say, well, I hire you because that you have this Toastmaster experience written in your resume, and we know that you learn not just the language but how to communicate with others more effectively. So I think that is kind of the experience. And when it comes to work as well, initially when working, everybody has to speak in English because I work in a US company, and we have to have a lot of dealings with the US folks, right? Yes. So I find after 4 years of Toastmaster training, by the time I got into work, it does really help. Especially when the speed of the speed of the conversation is accelerated, and you're exposed to a much more variant use of languages, variant use of the vocabularies and grammars from different regions, right? So I find that is also part of the learning experience, where you will continue to learn on every day.
Do you find that when they speak to you and then you have to do this conversion in your head, how do you manage to overcome that translation? Because you tend to sometimes you tend to use a lot and ahs when you're trying, because you try to use it as a feeler so that you can take some time to find the right translation to continue your conversation. So do you have any tips how we can prevent this problem? Because I also find this is an issue when I speak to my German counterparts. They will think for a while and pause for a while. Then I wasn't sure why they were doing that, but actually they are just trying to translate the words in their head.
Yes. So there are a couple of techniques. I remember when I first met with the president of the Toastmasters, I was that time I have to force myself to converse in English with him, right? And he says, okay, if you find there are some difficulties in the conversations, you can mix in some other languages. So that's one of the way, right? The mentor really helped you in making sure that you have a good start with that. And one of the things I practiced at that time is I was really speaking slowly at this speed. Because it gives you time to think about what kind of words that you're going to use, what grammar that you will use. So by slowing down, it gives you that you buy yourself some extra time to construct the sentence correctly before you blow it out. And the president was really impressed with this, right? Because he said that's the first time I heard people speaking that slow just to make sure that you use the language correctly. And they have been very patient as well. If you listened to probably Singaporeans or Taiwanese and Americans, they speak rather quickly. But if you listen to the British, actually, I find that they speak much slowly, right? The Europeans seems to speak much slowly. So I will find that by learning from them, that would be another advantage, right? Because you buy yourself some time. And I remember the first few times I was having the conversations with the Americans through conference call. That was difficult because a lot of times you are new at your work, you are not familiar with the professional languages that they use. There were a lot of jargons in there that you do not understand. So one of the techniques I often use in that scenario is that I tend to repeat what they are saying and ask them if I said it correctly, right? For example, do you want this meeting to be scheduled on next Thursday with these directors and that managers to talk about this topic with these objectives? Is that correct? And once that you can get confirmations or you will get corrections, just to make sure that you got it correct. So that is one of, I find, a very good technique, which is to listen and digest it and you will do reiterations of your understanding of the message that you get. So I do encourage that to whoever they're learning new language to use that, because first it reinforms your it reconfirms your image as, yeah, you are really listening and you are really confirming whatever you're going to do is correct with us. So that kind of builds up the credentials of you professionally, and also it builds up your habit into making sure that whatever you listen to is what other people want you to understand. So I think that technique still helps me until today.
That's a very good tip. And there's another thing about learning English, especially for somebody who is a beginner. Usually, what we learn as a beginner is, how do you do? Good morning. How are you? So when what we call it, the conversation starters. So as a beginner, when you speak English, you just generally know a few words. What if someone were to say, how are you? And then you say, I'm fine, thank you. What is a better answer instead of this just a basic answer? Just for people who are really beginners in English, what would you recommend?
Oh yeah. So in conversations, try not to use yes or no answer, right? So always ask in the 5 whys. How, what, where, when, etc. Because these kinds of answer doesn't give you a yes and no answer. For example, I ask, what are you doing this Saturday? You can't tell me yes or no, right? So when somebody asks, how are you doing? And you will just say, I'm fine. And you won't say, how about you? They will say, yes, I'm fine, and that's it, right? Just ask, what are you doing for the next, what are you doing this evening? So they'll give you a different source of answers from there, where you can pick up the gist to construct your other, your following conversations. It's the very same with work, right? Normally, I don't ask, did you do the assignment? That would be only yes or no. You will normally ask, what are the objectives of your assignment? And they will give you different points. From there, you can pick up one of the points and ask the next question. When can you confirm that, this objectives is achieved? So they will give you more and more content. And from there, you can construct the conversations. So you find a lot of times, especially in interview sessions, right? I've been with very good interviews and very bad interviews. For example, a bad interview, somebody would just tell you, somebody would just ask you, have you got a bachelor degree? And you would just say yes and stop there, right? Because it doesn't come from the 5 whys, that it doesn't give you I would say give you the opportunity to elaborate more. So when you ask this question, you will say, yes, I have got a bachelor degree in, let's say, computer engineering, and what I learned, continue on. So you give the interviewer some more content for the next question. Right? So it's not just that you are the ones who are throwing out the questions. Sometimes you can throw out the content so that I would say the partner in the conversations would have something to pick up from there and help them throughout that conversation. I think this technique can be used, when you're conversing with little kids as well, right? A lot of times I saw on TV that, the parents ask, did you have a good day in school? And the kids will say yes and continue on with their meals, right? Because they would share more with you, right? So what you have to use is the 5 why techniques, right? What did you learn in school today? And they can't say yes or no. They have to throw something out. And from there, you can pick up by throwing them another 5 whys, right? When do you have to, do this assignment? And what are the objective of this assignment? So from there on and therefore, I think you will enrich that content of the conversation.
Yes, good tip. Actually, we can use this with our own family, even with our own spouse and partners, because whenever they come back from work and you ask them, how was your day? Good. That's it. So yeah, we can use it anywhere actually, this scenario, to have a better conversation with another person. Yes. So thank you very much, Seng Chuan. I hope everyone here learns something from Seng Chuan here. And I thank you for being on the show and sharing your story and all your tips with us. And I'm really particularly very motivated and encouraged to hear your sharings today. And I hope your story is able to inspire others to follow your footsteps as well and also implement it in their daily lives. So thank you, Seng Chuan, for being on the show. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm taking notes. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, for the session. And I hope that you guys will benefit from the sharing. And remember, continue learning every day. And don't be afraid to make mistakes, but realize what the mistakes is and correct yourself. And in that sense, you'll be able to improve yourselves on the way. All right. It's nice to share with everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Seng Chuan.